Imagine a world where salt was more valuable than gold. A world where wars were fought, empires were built, and economies were shaped by a single mineral. Salt, the very thing we now sprinkle on fries, once stood at the center of power, preservation, and prosperity. Before refrigeration, salt was the only way to store food, the backbone of trade, and a weapon of war. It sits on every table, either in a shaker or a salt-based condiment. Salt adds flavor to our favorite foods and is essential for chefs worldwide. But for most of human history, it's been so much more than that. Salt determined where our earliest ancestors settled, how our civilizations developed, and how our species survived. Thanks to salt, great empires would prosper, and legendary cities would be destroyed. It's referenced in religion, mythology, literature, and philosophy, and it tells the story of everything from the founding of China to the French Revolution. Today, we're diving into its history, exploring its discovery, trade, and expansion, and tracking down just a few of the countless dishes that have defined its incredible impact. Have you ever noticed how much salt comes up in everyday conversation? I'm not even talking about in a food context, just in how we speak in normal life. If we're not sure about something, we take it with a grain of salt. A hard worker is worth their salt. A good person is salt of the earth. Someone with experience is said to be seasoned, or an old salt. But please don't rub salt into the wound. Salt is everywhere in cooking, of course, from salt and pepper shakers to salted caramel milkshakes. But sodium chloride is also part of the process of making leather, turning wood pulp into paper, producing chlorine for pools, and manufacturing vinyl records. It strengthens soil for roads and keeps them open during snow and ice. It's found in toothpaste, cleaning supplies, rust removers, and pain relievers. Salt has been used in medicine, mummification, and war. But most of all, it transforms food. Every cuisine uses salt. In Asia, the saltiness might come from soy sauce or pickled vegetables. Ketchup, mustard, sauces all owe something to salt. Even the word sauce comes from the Latin sal, as in salt. Salsa means salted. Salad comes from herba salata, sausage, preserved in salt. So how did something so essential, so ingrained in our diet, our lives, and our vocabulary become central to civilization itself? We need salt. We literally cannot live without it. In our basic chemical composition, a healthy person is about 0.4% sodium chloride. That's not much, but a little goes a long way. Salt carries nutrients into our cells. It transmits impulses to nerves and muscles, keeps electrolytes in balance, and ensures our hearts keep beating. Early humans didn't know they needed salt, but their meat-heavy diets supplied plenty. Animals also need salt and absorb it from groundwater, which ends up in their flesh. So for a long time, the salt problem didn't exist. Then came farming. When our ancestors turned to agriculture, filling up on grains and vegetables, we lacked dietary sodium. And that's when the hunt for salt began. Not for flavor, not for ritual, but for survival. Around 12,000 years ago, in the Neolithic period, a group of hunter-gatherers settled in Jericho, quite possibly the first permanent settlement in human history. They built homes from clay, planted barley and wheat, and irrigated fields from a nearby spring. But what made Jericho unique was its proximity to the Dead Sea, a salt-rich body of water. Other early cities shared this pattern. Saddlehuruk in modern Turkey rose beside a salt lake. Salnitsada in Bulgaria, literally salt town, was founded entirely on salt production. Here, salt water was boiled in clay pots, leaving behind crystals. Archaeologists even found an 8,000-year-old salt shaker. In China's Sichuan province, by 5000 BC, people were digging 200-meter-deep salt mines and burning natural gas to evaporate brine, the first recorded use of fossil fuel. So how did they know where to find it? How did entire civilizations choose their geography based on this one mineral? One theory is that when we lost salt from our diets, evolution gave us a craving. Taste buds include type 1 cells, salt receptors that tell the brain we're tasting sodium. That craving may have led us to settle where salt was abundant. But evolution takes thousands of years. A sudden shift from meat to grains wouldn't trigger an instant salt sense. More likely, our ancestors followed animals to salt licks. Inland tribes discovered salt lakes. Coastal tribes boiled seawater or dug evaporation ponds. We didn't just stumble onto salt, we knew what we were looking for. And long before agriculture, humans were already preserving food. Fossil records show hunter-gatherers dried and smoked meat. The reason we can't prove they salted it is because salt permeates everything. It's in the fossils, but they almost certainly did. Preserved fish packed in salt was the earliest way to extend shelf life from hours to months. It's how humans survived famine, winter, and travel, and the method hasn't changed in 10,000 years. In myth, religion, and folklore, salt is everywhere. The Bible mentions it 47 times. Lot's wife is turned into a pillar of salt. Leviticus requires salt in sacrifices. Jesus calls his followers salt of the earth. During Shabbat, Jews dip bread in salt. At the Last Supper, Judas spills a bowl of salt, an omen of betrayal. In Buddhism, the Buddha compares karma to a grain of salt in a glass of water. In Japan, sumo wrestlers purify the ring with salt. In the Philippines, babies are bathed in salt water for protection. Assyrians believed the world was born from a salt goddess. Slovakians told of a princess who loved her father more than salt. He banished her until all salt turned to gold and the kingdom grew sick from tasteless food. She returned with a magical bag of salt and saved them. In the Philippines, the giant Angelo created a bridge across the sea to gather salt, but stepped on an anthill, dipped his foot in the ocean, and spilled the baskets. That's how the ocean became salty. And in Norse mythology, a magical salt mill sank to the ocean floor and still churns to this day. For thousands of years, salt was so scarce it was reserved for kings. It wasn't until around 3000 BC, when cities grew larger, that salt began to move. Trade routes formed, markets emerged, and salt, heavy, hard to transport but essential, became valuable. Evaporating a kilo of seawater only yields 2 tablespoons of salt. To get 1 cubic meter, you need 64,000 kilos of seawater. That cubic meter weighs 4,700 pounds. It takes 30 horses to carry it. That's why it was expensive. The Chinese traded salt across provinces. The Celts built their empire on salt mine in Austria. The Egyptians had a breakthrough around 2000 BC, preserve fish with salt and sell it further. Salted fish now reached distant markets. Civilizations followed. Fishing villages supplied salt mines which preserved meats which were shipped inland. This was the first global supply chain. And with it came the first flavor-based arms race in history. Salted products took off. Assyrians created sausages. Egyptians exported olives. Chinese pickled cabbage, which later became sauerkraut. The Celts pioneered ham. Even condiments were born. In Southeast Asia, fish sauce, fermented fish in brine, became a staple. Vietnam, Thailand, and China embraced it. Buddhist monks invented soy sauce as a vegetarian version. It all stemmed from salt. Today, dishes like pad krapao use fish sauce as the sole seasoning. Its roots are ancient, and its reach is global. The same goes for every cured meat, every fermented pickle, every shelf-stable delicacy from Korea to Krakow. The Romans were obsessed with salt. They paid soldiers with it, hence salary. Pliny the Elder wrote, "Life cannot be lived humanely without salt." Rome built saltworks in Ostia and the Via Salaria to transport salt. They created garum, a fish sauce like its Asian counterpart. It flavored everything. A garum factory was found in Pompeii. Rome used salt to fund wars. They destroyed Carthage to control Mediterranean salt trade. Their cities thrived on salted meats: Genoa salami, Parma prosciutto, Iberico ham. Salt was power, economic, culinary, military. In Africa, salt was traded ounce for ounce with gold. In Mali, the city of Taghaza was built from salt blocks. Camels carried slabs across the Sahara. India had a salt monopoly during the Mauryan Empire. Centuries later, under British rule, a salt tax sparked Gandhi's iconic Salt March, a peaceful 240-mile protest that ignited a revolution. Colonists in America depended on imported salt. During the Revolutionary War, the British blockaded salt shipments. Food spoiled. Horses collapsed. Salt became a weapon. Communities boiled seawater, rationed salt, and built salt works. Smugglers became heroes. Forts were built to protect salt springs. Towns formed around them like Syracuse, New York's Salt City. Today, salt is everywhere: road to icing, water softening, plastics, soap, textiles, pharmaceuticals. We produce over 300 million tons a year globally. Yet it's also gourmet: pink Himalayan crystals, black lava salt, truffle-infused flakes. Once survival, now status. Chefs use salt to finish dishes with delicate flakes. Foodies trade salts like rare spices. Salt is still sacred, used in weddings, blessings, business rituals, and protection spells. It seasons language and life. It preserves more than food, it preserves meaning. To earn your salt, to be worth your salt. Salt reminds us of what endures. Salt isn't just a seasoning, it's a story of empire and survival, of cuisine and ceremony, of myth and memory. We may not fight wars over it anymore, but we live in a world built by it. If salt could build empires and flavor revolutions, what other ordinary object hides an extraordinary past? Next time, we uncover the shocking global history of something found in every drawer and underestimated by all.